This is 2020, so we've been running it for 8 years. So 7 years we had a physical location in a physical setup, and we invited guests to come and to speak to us to address areas where we would get stuck as marketplace leaders. And in 2020, because of the global pandemic and the global reset and the global new normal that's taking place, we went online, and we did it online. And we had a live event, 2 live events, and we had a very rich panel. They had a lot to share. And we thought we have to take the conversation deeper because it's an access conversation. Access means that we open it up to people to understand and to get more knowledge on what it is that they want to get into. And therefore, the UNSTUCK Masterclasses are starting from 14th of November 2020, and we're going to run them all the way through until we feel that there's another twist. So we have 4 events planned for you next year, where we are starting a story. And you know, a story always has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, and it's all amazing. So we're going to start with vision, clarifying our vision. Then we're going to go into how do we think differently now that we're in a new world. What kind of new thinking do we have to apply? We have to get our thinking caps on and think differently so that we can flourish and thrive in this world. And then we're going to talk to coaching, a coaching expert, the one and only. There's a person who's a master coach in sub-Saharan Africa. We need to have a conversation with them about how do we coach ourselves and coach others and coach even the leaders around us to help us to execute our vision. So that's just a snippet. So look out for the UNSTUCK Masterclasses advertisements, and come and be masters. You know, every time I think of a masterclass, I remember Karate Kid and how he was being told to wipe the window, and he was like, this is so mundane, yet he got to be a great karate expert. So I always envision that when I think of master classes. We want to become a master at something, you know. We don't want to be people who can just do everything. What was I created for? Where's the purpose? Where's the mastery? And we need to take steps to gaining that. My name is Angie Murenga. I'm the CEO of Kingdom Business Solutions. I am inviting you and welcoming you to the UNSTUCK Masterclasses and also all the other things that I do. I'm an author, I'm an inspirational speaker, I'm a leader, I'm a mother, a mentor to many. I'm a globally certified executive leadership coach. I'm an ordained minister, and I think we should just come and have fun and engage. I also love that we can ask ideas, we can ask questions in a small group. I find sometimes people don't want to ask questions, but this is your space to come and to become a master, and then we're gonna do great things, and this continent and this world is gonna be a better place. Welcome to the UNSTUCK Masterclasses.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie Kimel and I'm a member of the UNSTUCK team. So I'm here today to tell you more about the UNSTUCK Masterclass. So this masterclass purposes to provide a platform where industry experts who are having an extraordinary impact in their area of influence can impart knowledge, skills and information to help you, the participant, unlock and access your next level of impact. The training sessions will be taught on an e-learning platform where the information taught will be highly skilled, specific, and engaging for you, the participant. One of our key outcomes for you coming into this class is that you would walk away with new ideas, new approaches, and more importantly, new ways of thinking. Welcome to the masterclass. Thank you so much, Feni, for putting that up for us. And thank you, everyone. And we hope that you were enlightened and also just excited to be plugged into this topic today and just this entire session of the Masterclass series, Access the Conversation. So our facilitator today is Wangū Joy, a strategy consultant who assists clients in addressing complex social issues with an emphasis on global development. She has advised government entities, multilateral funders, corporate partners, and small and medium-sized businesses across a wide range of industries. And we're so excited to have her here. She's looking absolutely lovely. So looking forward to this session. Today's session will address particularly 3 issues that we wanted to recap for you before we start. So how to move away from pre-existing conditions and beliefs of the change you would like to see and embrace, an understanding of what processes influence movement towards development of good structures and systems. This topic will also tackle the how to navigate successfully towards aligning of values and guiding principles. So welcome, Wangū Joy.
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning, everyone. Today is a beautiful day. I hope you're doing well. I want to first start by saying thank you to Apep Angie and the UNSTUCK team for entrusting me with this assignment. And I am grateful for this opportunity to expand my comfort zone. Dr. Wale elaborately put it as, why do we need to get out of our comfort zone when we can expand our comfort zone? Who wants to get out of their comfort zone when we can become bigger and better within our own comfort zones? So today we're going on a journey. We are going to look at we're going to ask ourselves logical questions that will lead us into strategic outcomes that will be able to help us to build a better life, to build a stronger life. So let's get into it, shall we? So today, I will be speaking to you about strategies for movement. I hope you can all see my screen. When I got this invite, first of all, I got this invite on the 29th of October, 2020. I remember Apostle Angie sending me a message and saying, Wangū, would you be interested in leading a masterclass? And I thought 2022, that is so far away. That's like 2 years away. I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then in January, I get an official invite from the UNSTUCK team. And I think it was such a perfect moment for me to get that invite, because for a while now, I had come across, this year actually, I came across a book by Simon Sinek. And you've heard of him because he's the author of Leaders Eat Last and Find Your Why, and he's very well known in the business realms for strategy and positioning of yourself and your goals. So Simon Sinek actually built up this theory from Professor James Cass. And what James Cass had done, he wrote a book in 1986, and it's called The Finite and Infinite Games. And Simon Sinek picked up that title, and he began to unpack the finite and infinite games. Yeah. Now let's talk about game theory for a moment before we now get into the nitty-gritties of it all. A finite game, if you think of a finite game, is the games that we're used to. It's football. There's an agreed time. There's an agreed set of rules. Everybody knows where they need to be. We know that we're all wearing uniform. There's a framework and a rubric that we're working with in order for us to achieve an outcome. So he painted that picture of a finite game, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then he started talking about infinite games. And infinite games, in contrast, are played by known and unknown players, unlike finite games. There's no exact agreed upon rules or conventions or laws or how the players should conduct themselves. And basically, it's a free world, because the players can choose to either listen to the game rules or act however they want. You never know when a player is coming into the game and when a player is leaving the game. And I started to think more broadly about this topic. And I started looking at the world through Simon Sinek's viewpoint and Cass's lens of finite and infinite games. And the more I started to think of infinite games, I started to see infinite games all around us. games with no finish lines and no winners. There's no such thing as coming in first in marriage, guys. There's no such thing of coming first in friendship. An infinite game is a game without a winner, without a plan. It's people just come in whenever they want and leave whenever they want. And even when you think about careers and school, well, school is finite. You'll finish school. There's no one who will ever be claimed as the winner of all jobs or the winner of all global politics as we think of of how the world runs. And no matter how successful we are in life, when we die, none of us will be declared the winner of life, unfortunately. And there's certainly no such thing as a win in business. All these things are journeys and not events. So I wanted us to now start thinking I started to unpack the finite and the infinite game. And again, it's known players, there are fixed rules. There's agreed upon objectives, football, baseball. The players are playing to beat those around them. And the true joy comes from comparison. When you think of an infinite game, there are like no known players. There are known players, unknown players. The rules can change. We don't know when somebody is coming in. The objectives are changing. And I'm thinking of business and navigating our economies right now. You know, with COVID, it was a complete infinite game. And we are playing to be better. When you're thinking of the infinite game, who are we competing against? You're competing against yourself because you are the only measure in this game. Yeah? And the joy comes from advancement, from evolution. So I started to think about this game theory. And I started to see that surely life is an infinite game. Life is an infinite game. And I'm not talking long term. I'm not talking 20 years, 30 years. No. I'm talking about infinite. You know, in this pandemic, we have seen clearly that our lives are finite. Life is infinite, but our lives are finite. We are the players in the infinite game. We are born, we die, we come and go. And the game goes on without us. You know, when you think about our lives and the people that have joined us in our journeys, there are some who are not with us anymore. And there are some people who have shown up in your life right now. And you're like, where have you come from? When did I not know? How did I not know you before now? You know? So we have this one choice if we think about it. We don't get to choose whether the game is finite or infinite. You just play. You're just playing a game. We don't know, we don't get to choose whether or not we join the game. You join the game on your birthday when you're born. You know? And no one has asked you what kind of life you want to live. No. And should we choose to play this game, we can choose to play this game with a finite mindset or an infinite mindset. The choice is yours. Movement. We are constantly moving. I remember Sunny Brindra in one of the last Unstucks, he talked about how we are a mass on top of a rock and we are moving. And he was just trying to show us our significance, but also our insignificance in the greater game of life, in this greater game of this infinite life that we're living in, and this infinite game we're playing. So I looked at this topic and I realized that I would like to shift it a bit. Yeah. I realized that we are constantly moving. We're constantly in a game of an infinite game. We're constantly being asked to play. We're constantly being asked to show up. So this masterclass is a masterclass on strategies for movement in an infinite game, in an infinite life. What are our strategies? What are we going to do about our strategies? So let's get into it. Let's get into the components that make, core components that make us start to look at life and start to ask questions. Because when when I think of my role as a strategy consultant, we are basically hired brains. Somebody comes with a complex issue. They are like, I want to distribute vaccines in West Africa, South Africa, and Southern Africa. I need to know the partners. I need to know how to work it. And I want to do it in 5 years. Can you just work backwards and tell me what I need to do, how I need to do it, and when I need to just do it all? So we come up with logical questions that lead to an outcome that is set. It's a vision. It's like we forecast the vision, and then we come back and work our way towards the vision. So let's get into it. Let's get into it to start asking ourselves core questions as we're building our strategies in this infinite life, in this infinite game where we don't know whether we're coming, we're going, we don't know how long we're going to take here. We don't know how much more time we have left. What is our strategy? What are we going to do? So the first question I want us to ask is, who am I? Again, let's think about it. We don't get to choose whether a particular game is finite or infinite. We don't get to choose whether or not we want to join the game. And should we choose to join this game, we have a choice. So let's start talking about our choices. Who am I? Who am I when the chickens come home to roost? Who am I when the doors are shut? Who am I at the core of myself? Who am I? Sorry, let me just, I think I'm sharing the wrong presentation. Let me just track backwards. Okay. Just bear with me. I am currently in the infinite game and I have been thrown a curveball. So how do I rise above it, right? So that I'm literally in the game right now. So, okay, I think I have figured it out. Just bear with me. Okay. Now we're good. Great. Let me take us back, share my screen. Curveballs, somebody has just written on the chat, Sema curveballs being shown. Who am I in the thick of things when people are looking at me? You can see my screen? Yes, okay, let's get into it. So let me take us back. Who am I? Who am I when the chickens come home to roost? Who am I when life throws me a curveball like just now? And I want us to start being purposeful and start taking stock about everything that's happening in our lives. And the question is, when I meet myself, who am I? Meet yourself. Let's talk about this week. We've come into this masterclass at 9 a.m. Rash, this week has happened. My request is right now that for this 1.5 hours that we have together, I would like you to have a notebook and a pen. I'd like you to have some silence, just get away for a bit, because what we're looking at, and the thing is with strategy is about doing the work. No one is going to make a strategy and tell you, maybe just sleep and then wake up tomorrow and everything will be fine. My work hours are crazy insane because it gets to a point where I have to tell in some circumstances, I have to prove to the African Development Bank why investments in X area make sense over Y area. And therefore, I need to get to start to know at the core of who I am I smart enough? Am I brave enough to ask myself the questions? Am I brave enough to sit in silence and ask myself the necessary questions that will bring it all together in order for me to go through the challenge? because the only way out of a challenge is through a challenge. But first, we need to go in and look within and then start to go through the challenge, and then we'll get out on the other side. So I want us to do a little activity. This week has been manic. I feel like my February has been running, and I'm thinking of this masterclass right now, and I've been rushed in the morning, and maybe you have. So let's take some time and ask ourselves a few questions. Yeah? In silence. Where are you today? Observe yourself with grace. Take a deep breath, situate yourself, ask yourself, what am I grateful for? And being alive is enough. There are people who aren't here with us today. Why do you get to be here? What are we grateful for? What happened this week? What roles did I play? Was I mama? Was I wife, boss? Was I a friend? Was I a daughter? What roles did I play? How are you feeling? Let's do a pulse check. So as I'm talking, just begin to ask yourself these questions and start to tie it in, because everything that moves has to start by sitting still. Let's think of a runway. Just before takeoff, there's a quiet. There's a pause. And part of movement is studying yourself. Understanding, that's different. Where did that feeling come from? Okay, that's okay. Oh, that's a negative feeling. Where did that come from? And I want us to, the reason why I started with asking who you are, because you're a vessel, and the vessel has been tasked with an assignment. The vessel doesn't change. You're not going to change physically. A car is a car. And what is required of the car is movement. Is it going to take me from point A to point B? We are moving beings, even in silence, even in stillness. My heart is beating. My brain has fired enough neurons because I'm a bit anxious. Who am I? Who are you? You know, every time you go for a checkup at the clinic or at the hospital, just before you get to see the doctor, you get to see the nurse. And what the nurse is looking for is baseline. At the minimum level, how is your body operating? Is it an emergency? Is your BP too high? Oh, that's a signal. Oh, is your pulse ox a bit too low? It's lower than 90. What's happening, you know? What's your temperature? I mean, if you walk into triage and you're like at 40, the sirens will ring. And when you actually think about it, it's just 4 degrees. But what are your stats? What are your degrees? What are your degrees of movement? Who can tell me who you really are? Who are you when you're broke? When you're balling out of control? You know, who are you when you're disappointed? Who are you when you're loved? What triggers you? This one is hard. Oh, triggers. I have learned to live with triggers and learned to accept myself in my jealousy and in my envy. Because you know what? Sometimes life comes at you sideways and you're like, what? Where did that life come from? And then an emotion just checks in. And then all of a sudden it's drama and chaos. Why? Because of that trigger. Slight degrees of movement, you know? Who do you show up as? In your marriage, in your relationships? Can you be counted on? What makes your heart sing? What gives you true joy? and what brings you to your knees. Oh, I can tell you where I have been, exactly what I was wearing, everything people around me. When life brings you to your knees, sometimes it's just like a pause. And it's like, who are you in the grit of this? All of this, who are you? Who are you when you're at the end of your rope? Where did you come from? What giants are you standing on the shoulders of? Who sacrificed in order for you to be here? There's one thing that gives me joy a lot of the time. There's this phrase I keep telling myself, I'm my grandmother's wildest dream, which is true. My grandmother couldn't have imagined a life like I did. She grew up she was born in the 1930s, so she's about to turn 90. Her life was completely different from mine. As a Black woman under colonial rule, I am my grandmother's wildest dreams. That's something to shine about and to smile about. Now let's get into the nitty-gritties. Tell me about your past 3 years, 2019, 2018, 2020. Give me themes. Can you tell me about your themes? Can you tell me about when you moved house? If you look back at your life, have you noticed trends like, oh, I tend to sign my work contracts in January. Oh, I get to meet new relationships April, May for me. And I'm born in November, and my November is usually a still month because I go in to reflect about what my past year has been and what I look forward to in my next year. So tell me about your last 3 years. Are there breakups? Is April like your breakup month? As in you're like, by the way, April, I don't even want to even just be in a relationship in March because for sure April will break up. You know, have there been a lot of losses in one month? How can you start to turn your life to start being aware of just slight degree changes? You know, if you know, for example, April is your breakup month, April should be your self-care month. April should be actually March to April should be, let me start looking at the relationships around me. What am I contributing to? What role am I playing in these relationships, you know? And, you know, when you think about it, companies have annual reports. Every year, they give us statements and we get to know how the company is doing. We get to know its partners, new partnerships that have been formed in the year, things that went good in the year, things that didn't go too well. We follow the money. When you think about sports, when you're acquiring a new player, a footballer has been acquired, let's say by Man U, what do the newscasters look for? You know, in super sport, when we're thinking about like, there's a new driver being signed on to an F1 team. Why? What are these drivers? Why was this driver chosen? What are their stats? What are their failures? What are they weak at? You know? And then for me, the third point I want to bring out in regards to stats is because I'm starting to recognize life is keeping tabs. Data is a thing now. So let me ask you about your data. Let me ask you about your internal climate. Because climate is weather taken at specific times during the day of a certain area. You know, we're looking at atmospheric pressure. What changed? There was a 1 degree change. Okay. And then these numbers are plotted over time, over 20 years, over 30 years, of a specific region. And that's how we get climate. And that's why when the oceans are rising or they're increasing by 1 degree, we start to worry because those are trends that we should be aware of. What's changing? So what is your internal climate? When do you get to say there's a problem? Because that's what your data is telling you. Are we going to wait for life to thump you on the head for you to be like, oh, man, why did I miss that? Or has life been speaking to you? And if life is speaking to you, tell me, about the correlations between certain factors. Tell me about your wins and losses. Tell me that, let me tell you, my last win, I got wasted. I don't even know if I should get a win anymore. Oh man, I took too long to get up out of that loss. I took too long. Can you tell us about can you give us some nuances? Nuances are slight indications. Slight, oh, that's something to think about that lead us to an outcome. What changes would you like to increase? Would you like to make to increase your chances of succeeding in the future? What are your stats, guys? What's your data? What's your internal climate? You know, I've started to, even in my marriage, there are things that will happen and I'll be like, oh, let me flag this because this might be connected to that. And let's just discuss it before stuff just happens. Oh, I was triggered by this and that just reminded me of something. Can I be able to explain myself and show up in relationships fully and wholly? How well do I want to be known? Tell me, can you tell me? And when you're asking yourself these questions, there's a tape running. When I'm asking you these questions, there are answers there's something telling you an answer. Who is speaking? And to truly hear, we first must listen. And to truly listen, we must learn how to sit still. Because at the core of who I am, at just the insight, like that, the knowing, what do I believe about myself? Mirror, mirror, am I ready to see who I am? Because guys, no one is perfect. Oh, flaws. Oh, Jesus is still working on so many things within me that I've had to love myself in the incompleteness. Can I trust myself to love my scars authentically? And lastly, as you're asking yourself what you believe about yourself, who told you? What's that voice? Where is that voice coming from? Is it fear? Is it your grandma telling you you can do it and that's your drive? Is it your maths teacher who told you, Ma, let me tell you, maybe pick art. And then now you've never even looked at maths twice. Kumbe, you could have been the economics, I don't know what, that we needed in this country. Who told you and who is speaking? What is that tape? What is that internal voice saying? And, you know, gnawing at you. Who told you? So as we close out this component of who I am, I want us to take some, I think maybe 4 minutes to ask yourself the following questions. Tell me about your stats. If you didn't get a chance to observe with grace, observe yourself with grace, let's get it. Let's get in there. So I'm going to pause for 4 minutes. And I'd like you to just answer your questions. Take your time. Observe yourself with grace. Be grateful. And understand the role that you're playing in all of this. So I will pause here. How's it going? Are we starting to ask ourselves those hard questions? Are you starting to feel that? I had a mentor once who told me, keep asking. When you get to that's where you need to land on. That is the X marks the spot. So take note of the internal, let me call them, I don't even know what to call them, internal, I would say triggers, or just what is making your internal climate kind of shift a bit? What is affecting your stance on solid ground? Let me just recap. We began to ask ourselves who we are, and we're beginning to understand that anything that moves starts by standing still. And part of the movement is studying. And at the beginning, who you are doesn't change. You know, I can be imparted with great wisdom right now, down. My physical element, my physical countenance won't actually change much. Internal, I am having all sorts of kacha moments, you know, fire bombs and firecrackers, but outside you might not see a change. And at the beginning, you might think that you're not impacting anything or nothing is moving, but within, things are starting to shift. So I want to take us to the next component of our strategy. Again, strategy is a series of logical questions that leads us to an outcome, a set outcome that we're looking to achieve over a given period of time, over an infinite life or an infinite game. Because come to think of it, we're finite players in an infinite game. And in order for us to understand, we have to shift our mindsets. We need to start asking ourselves, why am I here? Why are you here? I'm my grandmother's wildest dream. I will say that over and over again. I am standing on the shoulders of the giants that came before me. Will I be a strong foundation for the giants that are coming after me? Why am I here? Starts to ask the question. What is my vision? What do I envision for myself? You know, to know oneself is to write my vision down in cement, even though my goals are written in sand. Cement lasts for long. I think years. I mean, that's why, like in Greece, all the Roman buildings, some of them are still there because of the vision. The people who are building those concrete cities, I feel like they had a vision that was beyond them because they are long dead now. I don't even know their names, but I know what they dreamt about because I can see parts of their vision still standing. Yes, hundreds, I think it's hundreds of years later. So what's your cement? What is your vision? The reason why it's called a vision, guys, is because in the natural realm or in this realm that we live in right now, I'm waiting for the chopper. It's a bit noisy. Okay, sorry about that. The term vision refers to the fact that you must see it in your imagination, in your mind's eye, because the current image does not exist. The current results might not even exist. The current way of implementing what you're seeing in your mind, it doesn't exist yet. And it's upon you to start articulating, what are you seeing in your mind's eye? You know, why, you know, vision is a big word. You know, what I'm trying to ask is, what is your block? What is your reason? Why are you standing on the shoulders of the backs of the giants that came before you? Why are you here? What are you planning to implement? You know, I think for me, what I'm understanding about vision is understanding that my vision might not be realized in my time. And it is upon me to accept that and take the initiative to start to plant seeds in a garden that I will never eat the fruits of. I will never see this garden, but I have chosen to plant seeds in that garden because I know the people who are coming after me are going to eat from that garden. So what am I going to plant? What am I going to set in the cement? In this infinite game, in this moving speck on a speck on a speck, what am I looking towards? What's in my mind? And the truth is, guys, you know, you don't have to have your own vision, but you can start to ask yourself, what world do I want to live in? What world do you want to leave behind? And what do I want to devote my life to? It's about knowing, I know I'm not going to get there, but I'm willing to stay the course. And I'm not telling you to be a visionary. I'm not telling you now from today, be Steve Jobs, make the next Apple product. No, no, no. Visionaries make up a small percentage of our population. Your cause in life is not to be dependent on finding a reason from the jobs you're doing. Like, oh, one day I'm employed in banking. Oh, my purpose is in banking. My vision, banking, setting it up. And then next minute you're retrenched, you're now in a startup in tech. Oh, tech, I'm feeling that vibe. Yeah, tech. No, no, no. Vision is not a big word. It's all understanding that everything matters. Every small speck on a speck matters. Every block, every shoulder I've been built upon started just by one guy saying, bring your shoulder, let's just support each other. So what am I building upon? You know, we are moving. And sometimes when you think about me moving, my heart is beating, my body is moving, my blood is moving, everything is moving. We need to start to instill the practices that we talked about. Am I practicing silence? Am I taking note of my degree changes? And how does that correlate to what I'm seeing in my mind's eye? There's Richard Branson was once asked at a dinner, you've done all these things, Virgin, you've done everything. What do you want us to remember you as? And he said, if you remember me for what I did at Virgin, I did nothing. In fact, my life, nothing. I want to be remembered in the qualities of my children. Now that's a man with an infinite mindset. What values am I instilling now in my life that will be generational? When I think of my legacy is never about what you leave for people. It's what you leave inside of people, within people. And legacy isn't about 60-year-olds and above. Legacy is, I met you today. And when I remember, when I want to have courage, I'll remember you today so that I can build upon what you shared with me, what you left in me. I can build upon that. You've given me your shoulder. You as a giant, you've brought forth your shoulder so that I can stand on it and see farther. So that others who are coming after me will see farther because they're standing on a strong foundation. What do you want to leave behind? And one thing I'm realizing about vision is it's not that hard. It's not a big word. Some people want to live in a clean world. That's what they want to leave behind. And it's okay. Some people want a world of they just want connection. I want to just connect with people. That is, you know what you want. You want to be love. Great. What do you envision in your mind's eye, in your imagination that's not here and you can't put it, you can't draw it yet? because it's still a block on a block on a block on a block. You know, everybody wants to think of, let's think of an actor. I saw The Matrix, someone, Angie shared The Matrix on chat. Everybody wants to be, is it Keanu Reeves? But church play, when you're asked, do you want to perform? No. You know, family get together, do you want to sing a song? No. But you want to be that actor who is playing Matrix. Where do you think he started? Didn't he start in a church? All blocks matter. Everything matters. What are you building upon? Why do you want to be Oprah? You know? Why do you want, why? It's always the why. Why? What world do you, why? And when you're in your vision, and when you start to move, it feels like an ocean. So I scuba dive and we go down. I'm a certified open water scuba diver, and we go down 40 meters underground into the sea. And when you're under there, things just move differently. There's an entire current flowing across oceans, traversing the continent. But on the top, we're just seeing an ocean. What's within? What's deep within? What's your current? What's your internal flow? What is driving you? Even in this infinite world, an infinite game that we're playing. Remember, we're still infinite, we're finite players in an infinite game. What is your flow? What is your vision? And we need to start building that. Remember, we're starting to build a strategy and it's logical thought patterns to lead us into an outcome. And every time, let me give you a bit about my work. So last year, I was really working on this project that I really loved. And it was, a client was trying to expand its portfolio, its global portfolio across 24 countries across the world, but they didn't know what countries they wanted to focus on. They knew they wanted to focus on Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America. That's a lot of countries. And for us to define the strategy, because the strategy was on early childhood development. How do I compare Tanzania's early childhood development with Senegal's early childhood development? When I put Tanzania here and Senegal here, what are the like-to-like comparisons that I can begin to pull on in order for us to see what is the success rate for kids in Tanzania? How are kids doing in Tanzania? How are kids under 5 doing in Tanzania? Versus how are kids under 5 doing in Senegal? Senegal is a Francophone country, the other side of the world, of the continent. Tanzania is an Anglophone country, much bigger populations. So how do you start comparing? And that's when we start to use metrics. We start looking at indicators. We start saying, what is the under 5 mortality rate in Tanzania versus the under 5 mortality rate in Senegal? And can we put that together? What are we starting to see? Are there trends? What's the historical data that we can begin to leverage on to actually see, has there been a shift over time? Oh, the numbers have increased dramatically. What is happening? Why have these numbers increased dramatically? So metrics matter. Metrics are valuable. And they're valuable because they mean so much. They can give you so much information, but then they can also tell you the value of your life. So I'm going to take us through an exercise. We're continuing to build. We've looked at who am I? We're starting to look at why am I? What are my metrics of success? And this is where we start to define our values. Look at your life. You know, when you think of values, values can both be qualitative and quantitative. What are you most passionate about? I'm not sure you can put a full number on that. what would your loved ones say about your best attributes? What gets you up in the morning? Ooh, what's your joy? What gets you out of bed when the days where you're like, imagine by the way, we'll cancel today and today will be canceled. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes you feel like your needs have been met in relationships within yourself? What makes you feel proud? What makes you feel happiest? And what were you doing when you're feeling happy? Were you dancing? Were you singing? Did somebody hug you? Did your baby just come and give you a good kiss on the cheek? And what are your greatest accomplishments? Values are what matter, guys. What is valuable to you are your values. So again, I will take a 4-minute break and I want you to start asking yourself these questions. Asking, what are my values? And why do they matter? So let's take a break. 4 minutes. How was that? You know, I was just thinking about values, our values. And I was thinking about, like, I can send the same invite to my family on like WhatsApp, come to my house for dinner. My dad will want to know what time is it finishing. My mom will want to know, what food are you cooking? My brother will want to know, is there meat? See, now you start to identify people's core values, you know? And when you start to look at life, start to think, are there choices that I'm making? Why should I go to point A versus point B? Why should I keep going when I won't even see the final product? Why should I keep a measure of my success? Because it's valuable, and value it makes sense at the end of the day. Yeah. So I want us to go into the next part of our assignment. And the next part, I will zoom in so that we can see. So I'll zoom into one side, is the values cloud. When you look at what I've asked you, can you start to circle the 5 values that matter to you? And can you start to fill them out in the blank piece of paper that I had asked, or your journal? And what if there are any words that are not on this cloud, can you start to put them down and pen them down? Because when you start to write down something, you're actively moving towards that thing. Remember, we're constantly in movement. We're in an infinite game. And movement, it doesn't make sense for you to move in a vacuum. Movement is calibrated from where we move from point A to point B. How do you measure how I've moved from point A to point B? With joy, with stability, with risk-taking, with grace, connection, equality, loyalty. Where's my faith in this? I remember doing this exercise with some friends. And it was more of a vision exercising to just actually to understand the voice that's playing in your head. When you think of, let's say, the voice of God in your head, is it a headmaster's voice, or is it a beloved voice? Does that affect your faith? Does that affect how you talk about yourself? When I think of connection, why do I value connection? And how can I be a better connector? Let's talk about adventure. Can we measure our adventure? I think for me, my true measure, adventure is one of my life values. And I kind of try to see how many license spots I can get and how many licenses I can get in my wallet, because I crave the adventure. I am a high sensual seeker. So I'm looking for adrenaline. I'm looking for, And the thing about values, guys, is values it's an iterative process. You're never going, because we're in such a dynamic world, you can't say that I will never, ever think that I will have compassion as a value, because life can change in a hot second. You know, health. I struggle with chronic illness. I never thought that health would be a key value for me. But when you lose your health, you start to ask yourself different questions. Power. What am I using my power for? Why do I value power? Am I using my power to lord over everyone? Or am I using my power to break down doors that have held people back for generations? What am I using my privilege for? These are the nuances I want us to start teasing out when we are doing the values cloud. I hope you have circled some of the 5 of the values that matter to you. I'm going to zoom out slightly so that you're able to see the rest. Why are you going to go from point A to B? Why are you moving? Why should you keep going? Why should you measure your success? Because values matter. Values are the fuel. Values are what get you out of bed. Values are what keep you focused on the vision that you might not be able to see, or you will see. It's just not going to be at your time. Who knows? Infinite games, movement, let's flow. The next part of our work is the values distillation. At work, we're taught to think logically. And there's this term that whenever you're asked, is it messy? Just know that you have the worst category of you have not done anything. And basically what messy means is it mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. When I look at my values, have I thought across my entire life? And are there overlapping values, for example? Maybe you value connection with yourself, but you don't have the grace, or you don't value grace. But you know that connection and grace need to go together for true connection to happen. So let's start to distill our values. Take a look at the words you wrote and selected on the pages, on the pages you've written on. And what patterns can you discern? Group these words into 3 general categories using supporting values in the section below. Give each category a name. It can be one of the existing terms or a new one that's more broad. If your values include family, community, and connection, you might decide that connection is most comprehensive, it's most messy, it's most mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. I hope you're starting to see that strategy is just about tactic. It's just about trimming down to the nitty-gritties and using the nitty-gritties to paint a larger picture, but also visioning a larger picture and then working backwards to the nitty-gritties, and therefore things meet in between. Why should you keep going? What value is going to keep you going? Why should I keep going if I'm not going to see the finished product? What do I value in this journey? Remember, we're in a journey, and we're not doing events here. We're in an infinite game with a finite life, choosing to live with an infinite mindset. So the next chunk is where it seems this is where the heavy lifting will be. But the truth is, the foundation has been laid. We know who we are. We know what is driving us. We know what our vision looks like. We've not yet started to articulate our vision, but the mental picture is there. Just needs some work, some tweaking. So the next phase, and this is the third component, where the first component we've talked about, who am I? Why am I? And the next component that we're going to look at is how will I? How will I navigate this existential, whatever life that we're living, this pandemic, on, off, Megatron, Deltatron life that we're living? How am I going to navigate? And this is now when we start to put pen to paper and we start to rationalize and start to think about, how am I going to tackle this? How am I going to be a strong building block? How am I going to contribute to the vision, the larger vision, even if it's just by a minute scale? You know, who knows? Who knows whether you'll be here tomorrow? Who knows who knows? What you know and what you need to know is how you're going to do it, because that's the only thing you're going to control. You can't control when you come into the game, you don't control when you're going to leave the game, but you choose. It's about small conscious decisions about how you're going to move through this infiniteness of life, right? And I want us to go back to the beginning. Remind yourself who you are. Who are you? Now we've set the vision. Now we realize that, ooh, I'm the same person. Shift in mindset, but I'm still the same person. Shift, I'm starting to see things that are bigger than me, legacy, generations, mountains, giants. But at the core of who I am, who am I? Remind yourself who you are, and how are we going to do that? We're going to stand in our power. And that's the pulse check. Let's go back. Let's remember. I had a mentor once tell me, if you can charge your phone once a day, you can afford to check in with yourself. You can afford to plug into your power. And I know life is busy, but we still get to pee. So even as you're peeing, can we take a break? I know TMI, but we're just being open here. If I can pee, that means I have like maybe 2 minutes of, where am I? Check in with yourself. Okay, how is today doing? Okay, where am I? Has any internal climate? Oh, what's shifting? Remind yourself who you are. What is your power? What is your source? Your phone needs to be charged once a day, at least, very minimum. How many times are you charging yourself in a day? And how are you charging yourself? And one of the ways I have learned how to stand in my power. And this is now where, let me tell you, an hour has passed. Strategy, I'm tired of hearing the word strategy. Now, we're starting to have actionable points. We're starting to think about, what does that mean for me? Who am I? Why am I? And the next thing, this is for me, this is something that gasses me up, because sometimes life beats you down and you just need to write your own oriki. I must be in the Nigerian. Write your own oriki. Speak your truth, because you know what an oriki is? It's a Yoruba word that means 2 words. It means praise your head and your mind. If I don't praise myself, who will praise me? If I don't remind myself who I am, who will do it? Nobody knows me as well as I know myself, or as well as I should know myself. I mean, apart from your maker, even my partner, who I love dearly, doesn't know my entirety. Who am I? What is your oriki? What are the things? What are the core issues? The core what your core self? When everything is scrapped out, what can I tell myself? What is my oriki? What is my praising with my head and my mind? What is an oriki, guys? I'm here to tell you more about it. An oriki is a greeting that praises me through praising my kingship, my giants, where I've come from, who has built me up, because we recognize I did not come here by myself. I did not come here because I made everything. I am not self-made. I am community-made. It's a greeting that praises me in this infiniteness when I don't know what the heck is going on. Who? Praising myself, speaking life into my destiny. It lets me know who I was. It lets me know who I am and who I will be. It reminds me of those who came before me and blesses those who will come after me. Let me tell you guys, reciting my oriki, it doesn't matter. 4 a.m., I need to do a strategy. It's needed by 6 a.m. What is my oriki? My oriki, reciting my oriki gets me hyped up. It reminds me truly who I am and what I represent. It's a standing ovation for my spirit, and everybody should have one. So we're going to talk about orikis, and you must pump yourself up. If you don't pump it, who will pump it? If you don't pump yourself, who will pump you? Remind yourself who you are. Again, an oriki, 2 words, praise your head and your mind. Let's get into it. Let me tell you who I am. I am Wangū Joy of House of Moray. Second of her name, Adversity bender. Warrior queen. Walks through fire, will not get burnt. Can you imagine? Passes through water, will not get drowned. Hell has no power. Sickness has no sting. I am a truth speaker. I am a life lover, and I am a world changer. If you're not the one who's clapping for yourself, I don't know, honestly, who's going to clap for you. If you don't, face your front and face yourself and remind yourself who you are. Then what are we going to do with you? What are you going to do with yourself? Because remember, in this infinite game, the only person you're comparing is yourself. It's who you are yesterday. Was I a better friend yesterday than I was today? And is that okay? Can I learn from that? Take a moment. Tell me your Ricky. Write down your Ricky. Write down in the chat. I actually want to hear, what do you think you are? Is it generational breaker? Nobody, just cutting things at the, why are you here? Who are you? What are generational issues breaker? Exactly. Put it to words. Angie Morenga, first of her name. Generational issue breaker. What else? Authentic Angie. I'm a wealth unlocker. 10 times better. Remind yourself who you are. There ain't nobody going to be waiting for you. There's nobody waiting for you on the corner. Just being like, hi, remember you? Nobody, because everybody is trying to write their own Ricky. I've peppered us. I've peppered you. Pepper them, pepper them. Pepper them is when you put some pepper on yourself. Sprinkle it, because you're hot. You're hot, you're burning. Me, I walk through fire. I don't get burnt. Me, I walk through water. I do not drown. Hell has no power. Sickness has no sting. I am a truth speaker. I am a life lover. I'm a watch. Listen, negative thoughts, what are they going to tell you? When in fire, when you're walking through fire and not getting burnt, you know? So start to identify phrases with yourself. What are your Rickies? How are you praising yourself, your head and your mind? Yeah. I'm hearing wealth creator, identity builder, life giver, light carrier, vision coacher. Pepper them, pepper yourself, pepper yourself, because nobody's peppering you, okay? It's just you. Face your front, find your Ricky, remind yourself who you are. And once you are doing that, let's start to live our values every day. Now, we have the vision. We forecasted it. It could outlive you, who knows? Even tomorrow, we don't know whether you'll be here. But what we know is that there was a forecast. It's a place where I've looked at and I've seen, there I can get to. It can be big. It can be a big life goal. It can be a macro, and the macro is a vision. And then we start to bring it down and work it into the micro. Who am I in this vision? What does it look like on an annual basis? What steps do I have to make annually to even just finite, just small centimeters of changes? Remember, you can't be a Marvel actor and here we're asking you to perform for the Christmas choir and you can't do it. No, you must start to work backwards. Where am I testing myself? What am I looking at me as I face my front? My life goal, what does it look on an annual, on a quarterly basis? Bringing the vision backwards, you're walking your way back to yourself. What does it look on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, and an hourly basis? We've talked about it. What I'm asking you right now is to start to set your goals. And what I'm telling you is strategy is tactics. Strategy is logical questions. Remember where we've come from. We've remembered who we are. We've remembered why we're here. Now we start to map it and bring it down towards ourselves. Yeah? I want to bring us back to this. What is my vision? What world do I want to live in? What world do I want to leave behind? What do I want to devote my life to? It could be cleaning just green cities. What does that look like on an annual basis? Can I start to think about how I can start to see how I can recycle my stuff, my rubbish, maybe twice a year? On a daily basis, is what am I consuming? Am I consuming single-use plastic, for example? Can I cut that out of my daily or my weekly purchases where I'm not maybe using plastic straws? I've made a decision to buy metal straws. You see, that's small incremental. It's a vision that, one day we won't have single-use plastic. One day I believe that we shall start to realize that what we're doing to our oceans and to our land. What does that mean on a daily basis? Is it composting? Is it looking at sustainable agricultural methods where you're starting to think, maybe I should start to research about sustainable farming techniques in urban gardens? Is it vertical gardens that I need to start to look at? What is my vision? A clean city. What am I doing in order for me to walk towards that vision right now on a daily basis, hourly basis, monthly basis, weekly basis, quarterly basis, annual basis? Be clear about your game plan. Remember, I told you to write it down. Everything we write, because our brains, there's too much happening in this infinite game. One thing can happen and it's over. I remember doing this wealth creation class, and the speaker was talking about wills. And he said, tell somebody else where your partner's will is. Because when your partner dies, it's not like you're going to remember, oh my gosh, my partner has died now, where's the will? No, because life is an infinite game. Start to set structures. Write down smaller recurring goals that tie in your life goal. Start with a big ambition. Let's say, for example, we look back at our values. Go back to your values page. Go back to your values page and see, if I valued connectedness, what's a long-term vision? I want Kenyans to be more connected because I value connectedness to that level. I know that it might not happen in this election, but is that something I can start to work towards? I want to include connectedness. It means diversity and inclusion. Am I connecting with those who have crazier infinite games or not infinite games? Am I loving more? Am I showing up and being gracious? Am I being kind? And don't worry sometimes when your vision looks bigger. The idea is to write it down, state the goal. You writing it is a doing what you're literally transforming your vision into a doing word by writing it down. You've started the movement. You started a movement strategy in an infinite world, in an infinite game, because you've written it down. You've started the process. Do I want my children to be connected? What does that mean with my parenting technique? What does it mean to teach my child something about, if I want to teach the next generation, does it start with teaching myself so that I can learn what are the best things to pass on to the next generation? Start with a big ambition, then work your way backwards. I have a caveat. I know this is very dreamy and kumbaya, but it's not kumbaya. I feel like strategy is honestly, my work really in this, as a strategy consultant, is to make, a client comes to us and is like, I have all these thoughts. I want to change the world. I want to have equitable resources. I want to also cure cancer. Help me. They've articulated their desired outcome. Now let's work backwards. That's what strategy is. It's questions. It's logic. We're getting to an outcome, a desired outcome. And if you're having issues right now, it's good to be honest, because here we are here for the honesty. If you have trouble cascading your values and to the big, and just this big goal, this big pie in the sky that Wangū is talking about, I have some questions for you to ask. Yeah. What information do I need to create a clear path of plan of action? What's the vision? What do I need? Am I looking for stats? What do I need? Google is your friend, which leads us to the next. What do I need to research? And where might I find what I need? We're living in there. I think now we're in Web 3.0. We've just passed the information age, which is Web 2.0. Now we're in Web 3.0. Does that integrate with your vision? Can we look at how the change from Web 1 to 2.0 was? What can I anticipate about this Web 3.0? Who can I speak with? Who can I speak to that might be able to help me achieve this goal? Is it a coach? Do I value a coach that much? Remember, values are valuable. They're valuable both in quantity because they mean so much to you, but they're also qualitative. They add so much to you, right? So we need to start thinking about values as doors rather than arbitrary figures. It's a door, a value. I'm going through the connectedness door. And does that mean when I go through that door, I'm choosing to go and find that door so that I can open it up so that the other people that are coming after me will have better connections with the people around them? Does it mean breaking down trauma in, let's say, Maasai land with GBV and FGM and early marriage? How does that contribute to the larger ecosystem? Because everything is connected in this infinite game. But we have to understand that we only have finite choices. Finite, like you can't choose when you were born. Twins were born at the same time, maybe a few minutes apart, but they won't always die at the same time. So it doesn't matter how you came into this world. It matters what you choose to do in this world and who can help you get there. What role do I need my family members and loved ones and friends and acquaintances to play in helping me achieve this goal, in this vision? I want to give you a caveat here, and I'm going to talk about it just shortly. We need to be very careful about also who we are including into our visions, because there are some people who come and literally just destroy your vision. So we have to exercise caution, exercise understanding. Am I giving you my vision? Am I telling you my vision so that you can affirm me? Is it your role to affirm my vision? How can I affirm your vision when I don't even know what your vision looks like? I'm not in your mind's eye to actually help you. Are you looking for affirmation when you're telling people about your vision? Or are you looking to start to get a desired outcome and start to pen down and looking for resources and people around you to build you up to a place where you're able to articulate your vision and start to articulate your desired outcome? What do you want? Who are you? Why are you here? And how are you choosing to show up to this world, in this world, on this earth? And the last one is, what mantra will help me get through the inevitable setbacks? It could be, you know what, today, I don't feel like it, but I choose to stay in the game. You know what, I don't like it, but at least I'm still moving. Strategy is a series of logical questions. The more you ask, the more you narrow down, the more you start to articulate yourself in order to be clear on your desired outcome. I promised that this is not going to be kumbaya, because I promise you, just the way it's, I promise you, you're going to get setbacks. Could be people shutting down your vision, or just realizing, crap, my vision is too big. That's not your problem. But either way, you're going to establish, you're going to get setbacks. Our job, and this is the how we lie, is to foster resilience. Foster is cultivate, to actually just like a mushroom farmer, just like cultivate and make sure that you get the highest possible outcome from this challenge that has been brought to you. Lewis Hamilton, I was watching a video of his. He's an F1, he's one of the best F1 drivers. And he was talking about how when he's on the racetrack for those 2 hours, we don't actually see the 40 weeks or maybe 10,000 hours that he's put in at the gym, isolating his core muscles. They do neck exercises where they hang weights on their necks, because they recognize that even as they are driving, the G-forces are so high that they have to prepare themselves. They have to prepare their bodies to receive that kind of G-force. He loses up to, I think he loses about 4 kgs in a race because of the speed that he's driving, with. But what he's learned is to isolate key components of his body. If it's his hips, he says when he's putting brakes, you have to slam on those brakes. And those brakes, in that G-force, you will get a reaction and it'll go all the way up to your hip. How do I strengthen my hip before that issue comes? Because I know that it's going to come, so that when it comes, I have a strengthened hip, I have a strengthened neck. My husband is a triathlete, and you can see adventure kind of is a underlying value in our house. It's not a value, it's a value, a big value in our house. And I've watched him train for his triathlons. And a triathlon is 3 disciplines. It's swimming, you swim 5 is like X kilometers, you get up, you ride your bike X kilometers, and then you run X kilometers. I personally just value his endurance and his choice to devote himself to such suffering, because it's suffering. I don't understand how you're going to choose to swim, then bike, and then run, and then reach their own, truly. But what I've learned to see, what I love to see him do is when he's training, is how he isolates his body, his key components. What am I using for the pull? What am I using for the bike? What muscles am I using for the bike? What muscles am I using for the run? And before he gets into the pool, before he goes on the road, he's in the gym. And let me tell you, it's crazy. He lies down on a box, and then he strokes in the air, just like this for 40 minutes. Because you know what? If you can't maintain your stroke on land, there's no way you're going to maintain your stroke in the water. He's preparing himself for, he's creating resilience strategies in his body, so that his body will be like, this we have met it before. But what he does as he prepares for his triathlon races, is it races? Maybe competitions, let's say competitions, is that he starts to build this strength. He starts to like break his body a bit more, get to his threshold. When he gets to his threshold, push further, get to your strength, to your threshold, push further. And that's what resilience is. It's a series of developing and fostering your resilience over time. And that's why Barack Obama is here telling us about how he's organizing and working through the economic downturn of the US government. And you're like, now where do you even start? Because he's learned how to deal. He's learned to face, he's learned to learn his life well enough in order for him to prepare himself for setbacks. I was reading his autobiography, and let me tell you, politics, I don't know. It's crazy. The amount of setbacks Barack Obama faced in his first term, in his second term, and then he's here smiling. I don't know. Me, I think I would have, anyway, let me not say that, because you know what? Part of my vision is to be a world leader. Part of my vision is to change Africa systems. I've been told once by somebody I held dear, I shared the vision with them. And that person basically was like, you know what? If Nelson Mandela couldn't change Africa, I don't know who you think you are. As in life, to my face, I was just like, Ma, people are talking like this in this life. But how do I prepare for that? Because where I'm heading, my vision is understanding that Africa needs to stand on its feet again. And whatever I can do to be a part of that greater vision, even if it's just one policy where my name is at the footnote, and that policy is passed 60 years down the line, I have achieved something. So how do we prepare ourselves to foster resilience? Take the wheel. I was so afraid to talk about my vision of Africa and seeing Africa stand on its 2 feet, but why not? Because resilient people believe that they're in charge of their lives. I am in charge of my life. And in that, I'm able to understand my weaknesses and my strengths, and I am capable of confronting them. Reach out, build relationships, not just only for good times, but for support and staying close with loved ones who will validate you. And that's another way of adapting to stress and trauma and tragedy. I find that sometimes when I'm stuck in my life in this infinite race, I like to serve, because I feel like serving shifts my perspective completely. Helping others is wonderful and it's very beneficial. And doing so imbues a greater sense of purpose, and it cultivates connection that goes deeper than just this. It goes into legacy. It goes into legacy building, what we're living for others. Living in others, not for others, rather. Face the fear. Get into the arena. A lot of the times you are here plotting strategies, but when we are always told, when you plot a strategy, be sure that you are plotting the strategy for what you can use that strategy to implement. Don't make big grand goals and you're not aware of how to implement them. And even the questions I'm asking you right now, I want things to settle in. I want you to dare to compete. I want you to dare to get into the arena. I want you to dare to say, I love you first. I want you to dare to say, I'm sorry. Those are hard tasks. Face the fear. Everybody, a professional athlete, a government politician, they feel anxious when they're getting to high-stakes situations. But high-stakes situations aren't only on the global scale, on the sports field. It's here now. Who do I need to call and just be like, hi, I'm thinking of you and I'm sorry. Dare to compete. Get in there. When you're feeling anxious about facing a high-stakes challenge, use adrenaline. Some people say, get in there, you'll figure it out, because you're already in this game, you're already in the infinite game, you're already playing it. Even when you choose not to get into the arena, you're already playing in the game. And what you have chosen to do is let fear dictate your outcome. Name what you're scared of. Name it, write it down, give it a name. I'm scared of being called ugly. I'm scared of falling flat on my face. Determine if your fear is rational, and then make an informed decision to do the scary thing anyway. Because you're already in the arena. You can choose to sit down here and look at other people playing their game, or you might as well, because you're here anyway, there's already blood, sweat, and tears in here. We might as well finish strong. This is a hard one. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Because forgiving yourself has more to do with you than the other person. Forgiving yourself has literally nothing to do with the other person. Release the hold of that person on you. Release the rent. Release them. You know, they are living in your brain rent-free. In this economy, people can't live rent-free around you. They must pay their dues. They're rent-free in my brain when I'm trying to create strategies of movement in an infinite game. No. Forgive. Put your ego aside, sit down. Tell your ego, I get it. I get that you're triggered. I get it. I get that you feel like you don't deserve to say sorry. I get it. They should say sorry first. But maybe that person is there living their best life. You're here carrying all the luggage. And to live this life, to move, to be in the arena, to slash, to fight, to move, we need to be light. You can't be carrying baggages of class 3 and we are 40x. No. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Let it go. Take criticism seriously and not personally. This is a big one. And we'll do an exercise towards the end. But everybody gets their share of feedback, whether it comes to you in cruel barbs or a helpful advice. In my career, because of the amount of work we're doing, we're required to get feedback on a weekly basis. Because the idea is that as you're moving this fast through life and strategies, I'm trained as a generalist, and a generalist is somebody who can pivot quickly. I can be working on education this week. I finish an education project. I'm an expert in the education field. And tomorrow I start an agriculture project. And then their feedback begins because you don't even know anything to do with agriculture. But in the 6 weeks that is required for you to build that strategy, you will be the expert. But to get there, to finesse. I'll be talking for long. To finesse your strategy, your motives, your intentions, you have to get feedback. But the idea is to take it seriously and not personally. Work on extracting the lessons. What am I taking from this feedback without becoming harmful, being attached to it? Why are we being attached to it? And then get into conclusions about my deepest self. I remember when I joined the firm, because the feedback comes at you, whether you like it or not, whether you have done your best, there will be feedback. And the feedback is coming from somebody who has more experience than you do. And I remember taking that feedback and feeling like it was a reflection of how badly I am doing. But it wasn't that, you know? I learned to take it as something to improve upon and not something that reflects how bad I am, yeah? And let me tell you, some people give you feedback, you're like, sir, please, do you even know what an oriki is before you are telling me feedback? Do you even know who yourself before you give me feedback? So sometimes people are just giving feedback free, like vouchers. So understand that feedback. Is it coming from somebody who has their own agenda and no investment in your success or well-being? Then perhaps don't take their remarks seriously. But you owe it to yourself to stop and ask, what must I learn from this? Because because we are constantly growing, we're constantly evolving, we're constantly moving. The last point is to go back to the bigger picture, go back to the vision, and use that to recenter yourself. Go back to your Reiki, go back to your values, go back to macro, go back to micro. Remember why you're here. Remember who you are. And remember that you get to choose how you play in this infinite game. I want us to do an exercise, and this is one of the last exercises that we're doing, where we're looking at two kinds of criticism. We've all gotten our fair share of criticism, but we need to learn how to rise above that criticism and learn to take what is required, take it quickly, move, because this infinite game, we don't know how much time we have. Time is a resource here. Take that feedback. What are we getting from this feedback? What are we getting from this criticism? And then face your front, speak your Reiki, move. But first, let's get through the criticism. So I want us to, I'll say five minutes each, so 10 minutes. Write about a time when you are criticized unfairly and what made it unfair. Then write about a time when you are criticized legitimately and how it felt, even if it stung. Remember I told you, let's think about the stinging. Now I found the word stinging. And what, with the benefit of space and time, you wish you'd have done differently. And then ask yourself, which experience has proven to be more valuable? So 10 minutes. All the best. So how was that for you? I want to end this part on resilience by giving this quote by Hillary Clinton. Everybody will be knocked down. The question is, will you get back up? And when you get back up, will you take the lessons that of that setback and learn from them, so you'll be able to be stronger and more resilient moving forward again? The choice is yours. This life is yours. This game you're in, it's you. It's not your mama and you, it's you. I want to go back to these questions that I asked you. Who can tell us who you are? We talked about that. Those are your values. Who are you when you, that could be your vision, your values. What triggers you? How can you what slows you? How can you slow yourself down? Who do you show up as? Those are your values. What makes your heart sing? That's a good or Ricky. Tell me about your last 3 years. Those are the micro and the macros. What are the patterns? What are the themes that are coming up? Can you find a correlation between your monitored micros, your habits over time, your weather patterns over time, in order for you to build a climate, larger macro? And what changes would you like to increase your chances of succeeding in the future? Those are your micros and your values and your metrics of success. So I'd like us to end where we started. Who am I? Why am I? And how will I? This illustration that I have on the side, I think it just captures everything that we've talked about here. The bones at the core of who you are. Who are you when we do a deep X-ray? What is your vision? Where are you looking at in the world that you're situated in? What is your vision? How are you choosing to thrive and bloom in the face of adversity? And who are you at the core of who you are, at the core of who you are? And the funny thing is, all this is in the palm of your hand. So I'd like to wrap this up by just saying thank you for being a gracious audience. And thank you for attending my masterclass. I really wanted to say that. Anyway, so I'm going to stop the session right now and I'll stop sharing to find out if you have any questions for me. Are there any questions on the chat? Let me check the chat. I think what I'll say is I will take silence as consent, and everything is great and everybody has learned things, and oops, let's see if there's, oh, okay. Yeah. Hi, Jambi.
Yes, I was typing, but it would just be easier for me to ask, what is the one question as a strategist that you wish more people would ask you in strategy?
I want you to tell me your why. Why do you want to increase X? What is your driving? What are your drivers? I want more people to ask the core of, let's stop skimming around profitability. Let's ask the core questions. Why do we want to implement this strategy? Why are we looking for this thought process?
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Where is the place of monitoring and evaluation? That's a good question. I think that's your stats and your values, because your values are those are your metrics. Those are your metrics of success. Those are your indicators. How will I measure joy over time? How will I measure how I showed up joyfully over time? It's going back to my values and looking at my micros and seeing how did this play out every day. The place of monitoring and evaluation in your strategies in every day, and that's writing it down. There's one thing that we are taught as strategists: write everything down. You never know where that information may lead and how the loop will close. Write it down, put it down, move, change your thought into an active verb. So I think with that, I'd like to hand over to Jackie. And I just want to say thank you for being a gracious audience. Thank you, Apostle Angie, for entrusting me with this assignment. And I'm grateful that I expanded my comfort zone. Thank you. Over to you, Jackie.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much, Wangū. Sorry, I think. See me now. Thank you so much, Wangū, for this amazing session. And today, I think we can all agree this was very thought-provoking, has challenged us to take intentional and deliberate steps. Not only have we gained a better understanding of self and our different areas, but also enhanced self-awareness and understanding of our internal climate. In fact, that'll be my hashtag now. What is my internal climate going into every assignment and every opportunity that I'm called into? So I'm sure you can all agree that this has been a very valuable session, and we encourage you to put the techniques you have learned today into practice, into action, into movement. Actually, that's the second hashtag, hashtag movement. So we appreciated your engagement today at the session. And I would like to give mention to some of the Kingdom Business Solutions points of engagement, and just let you know that we'll hear a word and remarks from our convener, Apostle Angie, after my remarks, and looking forward to hearing that as well. So please stay on the call as we continue. So some of the points of engagement by the Kingdom Business Solutions are, we have the Real You book by the founder of KBS, Apostle Angie Morenga, which takes you through the journey of rediscovery process, which is very important, and trust in the process, and how to grow the 8 areas. So you ask, what 8 areas? Well, this is where you have to go purchase the book, get to read, delve into it, and be encouraged in that discussion and growth and movement in that area. So the Real You book, be sure to get your copy. We also have the Purpose and Leadership Forum, which is an online program for market leaders seeking clarity and purpose. We have an exciting event. The Women Rising invites you to the Women and Trauma Workshop that will be held on the 12th of March, and tickets can be purchased on ticketsasa.com. I hear that tickets are moving very swiftly, so please be sure to get your ticket and come and be blessed from this event. So this session has come to an end, but it doesn't end here though. Do look out for the on the UNSTUCK website and socials for upcoming masterclass sessions. And some of the speakers we will be featuring are Esther Mwaniki of Lapid Leaders, Peter Jonjo of Trigger Foods, just to mention a few. Our next masterclass is scheduled for the 23rd of April, 2022, which is a Saturday. So please diarize that. And we look forward to We look forward to helping you unlock your access for extraordinary impact. Thank you once again. And now I'd like to welcome our convener, Apostle Angie Morenga, to give us a few remarks and also to close us out in prayer. Thank you.
Wow. do this, Wangū. Wow, wow, wow. Absolutely excellent, excellent execution, Wangū. I don't even have any words, but I'm so grateful. First of all, how grateful am I that you got your date a year ago, I think, a year ago, more than a year ago. It is important to hear God when you are, when Wangū has something to say. And I was like, it was a long time, it was a long lead, but I just love that God knows, and this is absolutely excellent. Before I pray, there are just a few things that I wanted to say. Number one, from your picture, or your okay, your husband is logging in now. Let me admit him. So, from your the last picture, the visual that you had, I just feel, because I like what you said with Simon Sinek, because that's what I do. I can read something, read one sentence and create 5 chapters. That's just how I am. So from your pictures, and I like that you said that Simon Sinek also did that he built up on a book that had already been written. So that's amazing. So the picture that you shared, your visual, I think the bones also represent a skeleton, which is a framework. So if we look at it, let's say from God's point of view, it's what he wants to build on, yeah? So we need a framework that he then builds on. If we look at it from what we call secular, although I don't know whether it's secular and spiritual, but everything needs a framework. It needs a structure. The skeleton is the structure on which we can build on. So I feel very strongly that what you have shared today is it's a structure. Because the structure now, the skeleton system, the bone system now allows formation to take place around there. And I also felt the word holding it all together. So like the framework is holding it all together. So that bone structure is holding, because I remember once when I broke my ankle, my leg was floppy, you know, I was really shocked. Despite the pain, I was, because the structure that holds my whole ankle and foot together was broken. So I feel there's something about that there. And then the vision, the lady with the vision thing, I just felt focus. It speaks of focus, because you can have the vision, but there's a focus. You know, even when they do the binoculars, you can look through them and you can't see anything, but there's a focus. There's narrowing. The focus is making the lens right then to see clearly what you need to see. And then I had build. Why did I have build? Oh, the leaf. I felt it speaks to fruitfulness and tangible results. That really we must have tangible results within which we can measure what we're doing. And for Jambi's question, before I go to my second closure, is that Jambi's question was, what does a strategy ask? I think you said, what are your drivers? But I also want to ask, what are your outcomes, you know? And I think you presented it several times, you know? What's the outcome you want to see and why? And this vision exercise and the many vision exercises that we've done also help, because like for me, when people now invite me somewhere, so they'll say, oh, we want you to come. I don't respond with a yes. I respond with what's the vision? What's the outcome? What do you want to achieve? So that even if you haven't thought about them, you need to think about that. So that we see whether what we want to achieve, our outcomes, whether they are connecting. Yeah, so that's very important as well. So in addition to what drives you, what's the outcome you want to see and why? I think is very, very important. I think as a strategist, as a question to ask somebody, what are the outcomes you want to see and why? And I guess in coaching, that's what we do, because I've sensed that I'm in a season where I'm coaching people's vision to life. So it's like, what do you want to see? What's the outcome? What's the final picture? You know, and what's going to lead us there? And then the other thing I thought, as you were presenting this amazing presentation, I just kept, let me start at the beginning. This year, I remember the prophetic word for this year started with, no, not the prophetic word. You know, I have many things I do. The fast that we started as a community this year, January, was about reimagining vision. So I believe, and I feel like this is such a big build up on it. Like we have visions and we've thought about visions, we've had vision boards, but I feel very strongly that this is a season where you have to reimagine that vision. You have to look it again. You have to re-strategize. It's almost like a resetting. You know, you need to reset. There are things that are there, but there are things that need to change. There are moving parts that need to be to be changed, that you need to see differently. And when we grow, we see things differently. Every year I grow, I see things differently. So it's important with growth that you reimagine the vision. And then according to what you spoke today, reimagine your vision in an infinite world. Because we're living in a very infinite world. So you need to reimagine your vision in light of that. I really want to challenge us to take time to do the exercises. I think one of the amazing things that you said, we must get some isms, is movement starts from stillness, you know? And that reminded me of the Formula One car. You know, I don't know what you also talked about Lewis Hamilton, but I just kept thinking about the Formula One car or Formula One racing. There has to be a pit stop. They have to stop, change all the tires, do what they do quickly, then it moves again. But you see, movement starts from stillness. The car cannot continue in the way that it has been moving around with all that force. That's to stop. So I really want us to take time to stop. I think in the life that we live in, we don't take enough time to stop. And sometimes I even find that leaders don't even want to stop. They don't want to be still in their own thoughts. So I think the exercise we did, it's 2 hours, it was very deep, but this could be something that you even do over a weekend, you know? Just take time, lock yourself up, shut off everything, and just really answer these questions deeply, you know, have the moments that need to be had, you know, if you need to cry, if you need to laugh, if you need to have all the expressions, express them. If you need to be shocked, get shocked. But it's like, we need a lot of time to expand this. So I'm going to really urge you to take time to do the exercises. The video will be up. It's going to be converted into a YouTube video, and then it should be posted on the Kingdom Business Solutions page so that then you can have access to it. If there's a database, it should be shared with a database with a blurb. I picked up also that our years are foundational. Also our days, hours, weeks, months, seasons, all these are very foundational. And we're building on foundations. And again, the question is, what do you need to reset before you build? What is it that needs resetting? Because the Bible says that when the foundation is not right, even the righteous cannot build. And you know, we're not righteous of our own. We're the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. But even with all that work that God has done and everything, if the foundations are not right of what you're building, you cannot build, or if you build, it all has to come down. It all has to come down. Wow. Working backwards as well. I guess that's why we create a vision board. Then we work backwards to engage the steps that we're going to do it. I'm just recapping the things that I really learned from Wangū today. And then structures and values are part of the prophetic vision for the year. So since we're doing our plug, also, if you want to know what the prophetic word for the year was about, you can go to the Kingdom Business Solutions Facebook page, I think, or YouTube page. And on there is the prophetic word for the year, because we talked about structures and values. And that reminds me of the bone structure again, the framework, the skeleton. Without the structures and the values, then there can be no building, because there's this theme of building that has come through today. And then who got you here? We must remember who got you here. You know, I think sometimes we're critical of parents, we're critical of past teachers, but I think it's important to remember who got you here. I love Doriki. Doriki. And that joy comes from advancement. And then I want to read Psalm 46. I think the emphasis is verse 10, and then I'm going to pray, but I want to read all of it because the way the psalm ends is quite different from the way that it starts. So it says, God is our refuge and our strength. God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. And that's important. That's encouraging. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way, because you talked about resilience. We shall not fear. Sometimes as Christians, when we envision or when we've just been through such a profound session, the enemy comes to challenge what we have heard. But the Bible says, we shall not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and roam and the mountains quake with their surging. So no matter what comes to try to shake us, no matter what is pulled out from under us, The Bible says there's a river whose streams make glad the city of God. So you need to plug into that river, into that stream, the holy place where the Most High dwells. And I was reflecting this morning on something Apostle George shared at the Thanksgiving and Reflection Retreat, that we must make God our place of habitation. We must dwell there. And we can also decree that God dwells in us, for us, through us. He has his way in us and for us. Such a lovely assurance. God is within her or within him, within our visions, and he will not fail. He will not fall. We will not fall. We can't fall. God will help us at the break of day. So I love that it says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Nations are in uproar and kingdoms fall. But God lifts his voice and the earth melts. But also, I have a sense that we are also voices. God has been speaking to me a lot about voices. You see, he lives in us. So it doesn't matter what else is happening. That vision is a voice. The exercises you're going to do are a voice. And God needs your voice so that whatever it is, your purpose and passion can melt, they can be access to gain it. Verse 7, the Lord Almighty is with us, the God of Jacob is our fortress. So that's a good reminder. Come and see what the Lord has done. The desolation he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth, and he breaks the bow or the bow and shatters the spear, and he burns the shields with fire. That's our defenses. And so I also feel that whatever wars are surrounding your vision, whatever wars are surrounding your vision, your sight, your movement, because this is about strategies for movement, may the Lord make a way by breaking everything that is against you and shattering it and bringing it into alignment, because this is the preamble for what I sensed very strongly was a message for today, because movement starts from stillness. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that he is God. And he will be exalted among the nations, and he will be exalted on the earth. That the Lord Almighty is with us, and that the God of Jacob is our fortress. So I feel that that gives us a license to dream, to move, to take bold steps, but it starts from stillness. So that's why, again, I'm hearing this emphasis. You've got to do the exercise because you have to start from a point of stillness, point of being totally still. Also listen in the stillness. Listen in the stillness. Take time to listen. So I'm going to pray and I'm going to sing a bit. I'm not a good singer, but these days I don't know why God gets me singing. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Heavenly Father, I ask you to get us to the moment of stillness. That movement starts with stillness, Lord. Let us still our hearts and our thoughts and our bodies. Let us still our mindsets and our thinking. Let us still our beliefs and our values. And I decree and declare that this moment of stillness brings all things into alignment, brings us into alignment, brings us into rhythm, brings us into step with God. May we be careful to do. Several things come to mind. The 5 virgins who were not ready with oil, they had all been given the same instruction, but 5 were ready, 5 were not. So I feel like this is such a key preparation. It's a key nugget, it's a key step into moving into our next. And I pray that we shall engage it, that we shall not dismiss it, that we shall not be fearful of engaging self, engaging what happened in 2019, 2020, 2021. Where are we going in 2022? Identifying our pattern, taking a stop so that they can attend, taking a stop so we can attend to the car, we can attend to us. That we can choose us because of the people that we are building the vision for. That we can choose us because we need to build on visions. We need to build on legacy of parents, of teachers, of mentors, of equipping, of organizations, of families. And we need to leave something that our children and generations can build on. Holy Spirit, teach us how to play this infinite game. Gaming is such a big thing these days, so I'm excited about the analogy. This is an infinite game. The rules keep changing. We don't know what different players are supposed to be doing, but we can be in charge of us. Me, what's my rule? How do I want to play? And begin to engage. This has been such a powerful moment, even spiritually. I just sense it's such a powerful moment, such a powerful shift. May you bless Wangū, Lord. May you fill her to overflowing. May this be true of her and of her generations, Lord. Thank you for allowing us this moment. I feel like it's such a moment in time that needs to be captured, which needs to be expanded and just, wow. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. We honor you and we bless you. And thank you for being with us in this moment. Advancement brings joy. Joy cometh in the morning, Lord. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh. Thank you, Jesus. We bless you and we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.